I have a confession to make, everybody. As a homie that loves and exclusively covers the Dallas Mavericks, sometimes that can cause me to be a little bit out of touch of what's happening across the rest of the league, right? Like, what do other teams look like? And sometimes that very thing causes me to say dumb things and ask dumb questions on the show in front of God and everybody, okay? Watching last night's game against the Utah Jazz, I was reminded of one of those dumb questions that I asked, okay? And buckle up, everybody. This is going to be a fun show this morning. So here's the story. Quick context. It was January 8th. It was the first matchup against the Utah Jazz of the season. And you look at some of the analytics. The Jazz are one of the best offensive teams in the NBA. They're one of the best home teams in the NBA. And Lauri Markkanen is looking like an all-star this year, right? He's returned to form. Keontae George has stepped up as an awesome number 2 option on that team. They have a ton of young talent that they're looking to develop, right? They got the 5th overall pick in Ace Bailey. There's a lot that Utah Jazz fans could be excited about. So as we were heading into that game, I kind of struggled to know, like, okay, is this a game that the Mavericks can win? This was before the Anthony Davis injury. And I asked a really dumb question. Here it is. I asked, are the Jazz tanking? Okay. Do you see, are you starting to see why that was a really dumb question? Of course, the Utah Jazz are tanking. Of course. And on this fine Friday morning, I have a better question for you. One that has definitely an obvious answer. Does a bear shit in the woods? Right? The Utah Jazz are definitely tanking. They hit that tank button so hard. And yeah, we're going to talk about the game that happened last night. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Believe me, right? We showed up with a bare bones roster and we took care of business. We put up 144 points. But let's unpack that for a second, everybody. This was insane to witness. The Jazz are taking so hard that the Mavericks were up by over 30 for most of the second half. Okay. And so that final score where we beat them by 22, that makes it seem a little bit better for the Jazz than it actually was. Okay. So the Mavericks should not build that kind of lead on any team. Okay. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not a hater. I love the Dallas Mavericks, but, and I'm going to be like specific. This version of the Dallas Mavericks should not be up by 30 on any team in the NBA, right? When I say this version, we were without our 6 best players, right? Kyrie, AD, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. Those are our 6 best players. They were all unavailable. And instead of those guys, we had 3 rookies on 2-way contracts, right? Ryan Nembhard, Miles Kelly, Moussa Cisse, and we even signed a guy to a 10-day contract, Jeremiah Robinson Earl. That version of the Dallas Mavericks put up 144 points. That version of the Dallas Mavericks were up by 30 for over, the entire second half until like the Jazz started hitting a couple threes towards the end of the game. Like that's what we're here to believe. Okay. Adam Silver, investigate that. All right, go investigate it right now. Throw the entire book at him. That is like some of the most blatant tanking I have ever seen in my life. Now, I'll be honest. As I look at the 2026 draft, I want AJ DeBonsa on our team just as much as the next guy. Okay, but the league is like emphasizing we want to de-incentivize tanking, and in fact, we're going to start penalizing it. Like, that's the thing that they're going to penalize. What we saw from the Utah Jazz last night, they never even looked like they were interested in playing basketball. Not going to lie, I got distracted, lost my train of thought, and I apologize if you heard that background noise. My 5-year-old decided that 5:30 on a Friday morning, it's TV time, and he had the volume up so loud. Anyway, where we were, the Utah Jazz need to be investigated by Adam Silver. Like, that is the most blatant tanking job I've ever seen. They kept Markkanen out because of a mysterious illness. Yusuf Nurkic, who is averaging a double-double this season, he's been incredible, by the way. He just is catching DNPs like it's nobody's business. This needs to be investigated. Meanwhile, the Mavericks are tanking, right? But we're doing it in an ethical fashion. We have the high ground. It's over Anakin. Okay. By the way, I'm not the one that has coined the term ethical tanking. Josh Bowe from Mavs Moneyball, solid follow. And he also does Pod Maverick with Kirk Henderson. Definitely you should check them out. And yeah, I mentioned AJ DeBonsa. We're definitely going to be doing draft profiles over these next few weeks, right? As we start talking about, okay, there's not a lot of fun basketball to watch. We are not a good team, even though we score 144 on a random Thursday night. So we're going to get excited about the 2026 draft. And yeah, we're going to talk about some other little things happening across the across our team. Guys, I'm sorry. I got a little bit flustered. I'm going to try to get my train of thought back here. I am your host, Ethan, the advisor Clayton, and this is Your Mavs, the Dallas Mavericks podcast where all are welcome. Y'all better behave. And I'm looking at you, Utah Jazz, when I say that. Y'all better behave or you're going to get investigated. Okay, and I said in the intro, guys, that I was going to give credit where credit is due. This was such an insane game to witness. I'm going to read through the box score with you just very briefly. We won 144 to 122. I told you that the Utah Jazz made a few threes towards the end of the game that made that gap not look nearly as bad as it was for the entire second half. But it was such an incredibly balanced attack from the Dallas Mavericks, right? Again, a bare bones, what the heck is this roster type of team. Najee Marshall, 22 points. Jaden Hardy, 19 points. Brandon Williams, 18. Caleb Martin, who's on a heater, 14 points. Dwight Powell with 6. Musa Cisse with a double-double, 10 points. Ryan Nembhard, 8 points and 10 assists. Klay Thompson, you are my hero, 26 points with 6 made three-pointers. Miles Kelly, 9 points. 3 three-pointers made. That guy can shoot. And then Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who I talked about, we signed to a 10-day contract. We were granted that injured player exception deal. I don't remember the proper term. But JRE came in and put up 12 points on 5 of 8 shooting. Guys, this was the most balanced attack I've seen on a box score in a while, especially for the Dallas Mavericks. Again, without our 6 best players, with 3 two-way rooks and a 10-day contract guy, we put up 144 points. We shot the ball incredibly well from the three-point line, 19 of 46. That's 41% from 3. And I told you guys a couple of days ago, a stat for us to keep our eyes on as the Mavericks progress through the season is not just the 3-point percentage or 3-point makes. It's really the 3-point attempts that I were just terribly, terribly concerning for the first half of the season. Like in today's NBA, you cannot expect to win games if you're putting up 15, 20 3-pointers a game, right? Like that's not how this works. We've started to turn that dial up, and lo and behold, as we're starting to take a lot more attempts, we're starting to make more. And whenever you make more, you score more. And whenever you score more, you win more. Now, there's always the back and forth debate about whether or not we should be even trying to win this game. I don't think we were trying to win this game, y'all. But I can tell you for sure that the Utah Jazz were not trying to do anything that resembled basketball last night. But I loved how Najee Marshall controlled the game. I loved how Klay Thompson came off the bench and was just an absolute flamethrower. Like he was 6 of 13 from the field, but it looked like every shot that came off of his hands was going to go in. He had this confident air about him. I guess he loves torching the Utah Jazz. But I'll be honest, it was actually a really fun game to watch. Like in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, no, we should lose. We should lose. Why are we up so big? Jason Kidd, do you not know how to tank? It's just the Utah Jazz have a lot more experience in the tanking department than we do. So I guess we should move on past that. Again, really fun game last night. And guess what? We get the Utah Jazz again on Saturday. So I guess we only play the Utah Jazz anymore. Moving right along. Yesterday was a really interesting day. It was what we have appropriately now been now started calling it Jonathan Kuminga Day. Okay, let's do a quick recap of his timeline here and where that might coincide with the Dallas Mavericks. August 15th, he signs a 2-year deal to stay with the Golden State Warriors after there was a whole lot of battling going on last season about him not getting quality playing time. Like that's definitely bled into this season to the point where his agent, who's really trying to drum up interest in the trade market, is like posting highlight videos from the 23-24 season. Like, wow, that's pretty bad when you look at it that way. But so he signs that deal on August 15th, and basically on August 16th, it has been reported since that like he's not eligible to be traded until January 15th, but the second that rolls around, that is the Golden State Warriors' top priority. They want to move that contract. Apparently, he does not fit within their system. He and Steve Kerr do not see eye to eye. You guys have seen all the drama that's gone on over there. Like it's kind of been a stupid story, to be honest with you. But anyway, January 15th was yesterday. It rolls around. He's eligible to be traded. And you know what? The second that calendar struck the 15th, Jonathan Kuminga demands a trade. We were all so shocked. I had to sew my jaw back onto my face. No, we all saw this coming. We knew that it was going to happen. And then, shortly thereafter, it's reported that the Dallas Mavericks have shown interest in Jonathan Kuminga. And then later that day, Shams Charania on ESPN said, Jonathan Kuminga has expressed interest in playing for the Dallas Mavericks. So the feeling is mutual. They're doing that cute flirting. Hey, I think you're cute. Well, I think you're cute. They haven't asked them to. Neither of them have asked each other to the prom yet, but they are flirting. Okay, so Jonathan Kuminga is mentioned in the same sentence as the Dallas Mavericks. Let the debate ensue. Okay, you hear everything imaginable about that, the potential of bringing in Jonathan Kuminga. Like, no, he's a totally washed up prospect. He can't shoot. He can't defend. He's a whiny baby, blah, blah, blah. The Mavericks don't have any business trading for him. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you see comments like, man, he and Cooper Flagg together on the court at the same time. Watch out, NBA. Like, I mean, you were seeing all sorts of debate about whether or not it makes sense. Like, would it be a good fit? Is Jonathan Kuminga actually a potential star? Like, is he really just a whiny baby whenever you look back at all this drama that's unfolded? Here's what I think. You trade for Jonathan Kuminga. Like, I give you full approval to go for it. Like, do it. And this is a pretty big one, I would prefer to move or bring in Jonathan Kuminga for like a Daniel Gafford and Jaden Hardy type of deal, or Gafford plus Caleb Martin, or dare I even say Klay Thompson if he wanted to return to the Golden State Warriors and finish his career there. By the way, pause. I want to keep Klay Thompson. I want him to retire a Dallas Maverick. Like, he's been such a great veteran. You may accuse me of like going back and forth. The whole time, this whole season, as I've talked about the potential of trading Klay Thompson, it's because we have a desperate draft capital situation. And if we can get a pick or whatnot and bring in some young talent, I still think we should do it or should consider it. But man, Klay Thompson has been incredible. But if he wants to go back to Golden State and he says, hey, look, I want to have another chance to contend, great. I'll do that trade. I don't want it to be part of an AD deal, okay, to receive Jonathan Kuminga. You know why that is, y'all? Because it wouldn't just involve Jonathan Kuminga. It would involve Draymond Green. I don't want that on our team. I don't want that negative energy. I don't want that contract. I don't want the drama that goes along with Draymond Green. And basically, that's what the Warriors would have to do to match the incoming salary for Anthony Davis. So if instead we send out, and I'm going to give Jimmy Crowther of All Things Mavs credit for this one. He did the math. He ran the trade machine on this one. It's like pretty well a perfect salary match to send Gafford and Jaden Hardy to Golden State to bring in Jonathan Kuminga. So if we could get away with that, do it. Do not think twice. Do not overthink it. Like this, guys. The thing about AD, other than the injury history and availability and all that, is the contract situation. So if we don't find a suitable trade partner for him and we wind up keeping him, like I want you guys to understand, like there's some positives that come from that, except for the money stuff, right? Like, because again, in his final year of his contract, he has a player option for $63 million. I would much rather take a gamble on Jonathan Kuminga, who's 23, he will only have one more year left on his contract. So if trading for him totally blows up in our face, we are not committing to him long term like we would be to Anthony Davis. Now, you may think that sounds like a contradiction that I said I don't want to get Kuminga in an Anthony Davis trade because of the Draymond Green stuff, but I'm still going to tell you, like, we got to move Daniel Gafford, we got to move Anthony Davis, we got to do all these things, and the more I think about having another exciting young talent next to Cooper Flagg, the better the prospect becomes. Okay. That's kind of that's my 2 cents on the deal. Again, the Mavericks should trade for Jonathan Kuminga, in my opinion, but if it's for Gafford and another contract, not AD, because I don't want Draymond Green. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Let's see what else we got. Maybe one more thing to talk about before we wrap up the show this morning. This one made me really, really happy. Okay. And I was watching the Howdy Partners podcast with Tim McMahon and Michael C. Wright. And the main thing is, like, the tagline that got me hooked was DeMont and Dirk repairing relationship. I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna watch and see what he has to say. And the first 10 minutes of the episode is, like, totally devoted to the Dallas Mavericks. So, like, if you're gonna go listen to it, I can't vouch for the entire 34 minutes of that show, but the first 10 specific to the Dallas Mavericks. He talks about the Anthony Davis trade landscape. He talks about the kind of the Rich Paul, Patrick Dumont. I'm not going to let you bully me, but Rich Paul saying, like, we got to get a move by the trade deadline. Like, he talked about all that dynamic, but kind of towards the end of the Dallas Mavericks segment, he talked about repairing relationships with our franchise's best player of all time, Dirk Nowitzki. Dumont has reached out and is really starting to work on ways to get Dirk involved with the Mavericks again. I don't know if that means it's going to be in an official capacity or in some type of consultant role. I have no idea what it means, but I will say I like this report because it shows that Patrick Dumont is tapped into what the community has to say, right? Like, the relationship was severed by Nico Harrison. Right. And that disenfranchised, like, so much of our fan base for obvious reasons. Patrick Dumont is now in a place where he's tapped in enough to recognize that and know that, hey, if we want to have a exciting direction to move forward, Dirk Nowitzki needs to be part of that because he brings a lot of the fan base with him. So I was very encouraged to hear that report. I don't know how that's going to materialize. I just know that we need a lot more Dirk in the city of Dallas. We need a lot more Dirk in the Dallas Mavericks organization. I think I've jokingly brought up, like, could he be our next GM? I don't know. I don't know that that's a great idea either, because if things don't go well and there's a falling out, like, we don't want there to be a falling out with our best player of all time. So I'm just saying, I'm encouraged that Patrick Dumont has a recognition of what's going on and wants to make it right. We'll stay tuned to see how all of that materializes. But I'm a huge Dirk guy. Dirk was my first love as a Dallas Mavericks fan. I went to a Mavericks game when I was 5 years old, when Jason Kidd was a rookie. That got me hooked. But Dirk is what really caused me to love the Dallas Mavericks and be obsessed with them. To be a sicko that records podcasts every day, or not every day, but most days at 5 a.m. Here we are. I love the Dallas Mavericks. That's really all I got for you today. Guys, I've really been appreciating the comments, the conversations going on there. If you're watching this and you haven't done so yet, please make sure you hit subscribe. Please like this video, share with your friends, share with your grandma that loves the Mavericks, whoever, right? Send this to your friend that loves the Utah Jazz and shame them to no end for the ridiculous tanking that's happening over there. It's ridiculous. Investigate it. All right, that's all I got for you. Y'all be good. Party on.